Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome to the stream. My name is David Sinaira, and I actually missed playing some visual novels. So today, we are taking a break from Horizon and playing Autumn's Journey, which is a game whose code I got from the publisher, Rather Like a Games. So they gave me a code to check it out. I'm about to check it out. The starting screen. That's my default starting screen, yes. Notice how it didn't say the name of the game. Transitions none. You can keep skipping because I don't want to skip. It's a visual novel. I'm testing it for the first time. How are you guys? Caravan, Robo? How is Saturday treating you? As you know, I don't stream on Saturdays usually, but well, I wanted to check this out, so this way it doesn't interrupt the flow of Horizon. Let's do that. It's Sunday already, not at my usual time frame. It's just chilling on Twitch way too late. It is, for you it is, yeah. Sunlight filtered through the airy birch forest as the lush ferns graze in my boots. I momentarily shielded my eyes before I turned north, treading carefully. This is loud, isn't it? No. No, it's not. I just have my phones too loud. I am good. I just woke up. Because since I don't stream on Saturday, my alarm was off. So I just woke up. And I thought, do I watch a movie? Or am I taking this time to play like a different game than usual? So I did that. Hello, Cyan, how are you? Moobot needs to be more efficient. Alright. I just want that to show up in chat. Is this a dating visual novel? Or a normal one? Actually, I don't think it's dating, no. It's a normal one. I think it's still like 2 routes. It has 3 endings, I know that. So, but I think it's more friendship than finding love. The muggy atmosphere that had hung over the past few months was now being replaced by the subtle crispness of fall. No waifus or bandas this time? Well, there will always be waifus and bandas. Maybe not literal. Though the trees were still vibrantly green, apple-picking season was fast approaching for the town of Barry. I cheerfully stretched one arm toward the sky, inhaling deeply. And thus my weekly scouting for monsters, bandits, or anything out of the ordinary that may harm local citizens is over! Right. And that concludes my mission. I left, wondering why I was announcing my agenda to no one. I guess I always just wanted to say that out loud. Walking around alone does prompt you into monologuing just so you can hear a voice. That is correct. Hey look, this time we have a portrait, and I don't need to change my camera to the other side. Which is what happens in every single visual novel I play. It's always like, my camera's obstructing the subtitles, and there's nothing on the other side. Yeah, I like the art style of this game from what I've seen, so... And since it's high fantasy, I'm pretty curious to play it. I just wish I wasn't restricted to freelance work in Barry, though. How long is my training going to last? I'm more than ready for knighthood. I can do this. I adjusted the belt holding my sword, making sure the hilt could be pulled out at a moment's notice. Put the camera front and center, preserve the subtitles. Like this. This is what we're doing now. Perfect. Yes. Seems like it would be a success. Decided to meander back to the village by following the thin river down the gentle slope. I love the terrain here. Not super rocky, but not entirely flat either. There was always an inclination, and higher up, I could get a breathtaking panorama of Barry and its endless orchards. Especially in autumn, when the leaves were so vibrantly red that the entire forest seemed to ignite, and the smell of crisp frost and thick fallen foliage lingered welcomingly. It was then I spotted something entirely out of the ordinary near the riverbank, leaning against a birch tree. Thin birch trees were not exactly known to be comfortable resting spots, and I did not recognize the stranger's attire. Hello, are you a traveler? Do the top corners work? Usually nothing important is at the top, right? Yeah. I mean, right now I'm not cutting anything off, so I don't need to change it. Unless you really want to see, like, the auto back and skip commands, I'm not cutting off anything. So I actually think I'm in a good place on this one. We need the button layout, damn it. Let the man or woman sleep. That's not how it works. How else are we supposed to play your nut? You watch. His face came into view and I realized he was sleeping, but that's not what caught me off guard. His study has, ears. He had beautiful protrusions resembling shale shards jutting out of his long hair, right where someone's ears should be, or was it a decoration covering his ears? I suddenly wanted to touch them, but I resisted. If he woke up in an untimely manner, it would be awkward to explain. At first I was about to leave, but then I noticed something else rather odd. From a simple glance I saw no bags, no possessions, or anything else on him. This place was too far away from civilization for a simple afternoon stroll. Was he mugged? And if he had been in Barry previously, I would have known. It was that small of a town. Curiosity won me over. Hello? Melty, we got the next Utawareru Mono game. Maybe. This one does not have combat, though. Flicker of concern passed over my face. I grabbed his shoulder and gave it a gentle shake, finding his lack of response unnerving. I quickly opened a hand in front of his nose. Sure enough, he was breathing, and I did not see any injuries that would suggest he was knocked unconscious. After some more feeble attempts to wake him, I decided to improvise a camp. I did not want to leave him unattended, and I knew I couldn't drag his body very far. Tossing down my bag, I went to work. The fire crackled merrily on the birch wood as I opened my cloth, which contained a lump of rye bread and hard cheese. These were emergency rations, lest I was unable to return to Barry. Mother and father were probably worried. Just as I was about to bite into the cheese, I saw movement and glanced up, eyeing the stirring stranger. Setting my foot down, I cautiously shuffled over. I had previously placed his body in a supine position and used my bag as a substitute pillow. Though it was probably more lumpy than anything else, it was better than nothing. Are you awake now? You've been out all afternoon. I was getting worried. I trailed off before I started rambling and watched him curiously as he opened his eyes.
Whoa.
In a split second, he shot up and then clumsily fell back. I caught his arm to steady him. Whoa! It's like... I need a soundboard. That's one thing I should have for the... for the stream. It's like when you have a soundboard and you just have a whoa! Oh, take it easy. You just got up.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, we can play it again. He flinched from my skin contact and I hastily let go, retreating slightly. I didn't get any sense of hostility, but he certainly seemed bewildered. Who are you? There was an uneasy edge in his voice, not quite one of panic, but more of anger. It was then I noticed that his eyes were of a brilliant amethyst hue, contrasting with his earthly air tones. Better to remain calm. Orally, I found you in the woods outside of Barry. Has Bando material? Yes. There's a trope in anime called sudden girlfriend appearance. It obviously applies for both sides, but it's called sudden girlfriend appearance. It's the same one. But the surprise did not leave his eyes. They darted quickly to his hands, which then covered his face. Lastly, he ran his fingers through his brown hair. The horror on his face was so unsettling that I dumbly sat there for several seconds before mustering the courage to address him again. Are you alright? Obviously not, but I wanted a better grasp of the situation. He attempted to sit up again, but this time I was prepared. Again he was repelled by my touch, and I gave up the desire to help him that way. Hands off! He still appeared unstable, but seized the sudden movements at least. He actually did it.
The hell?
He clutched at his temples, his fingers grazing over the hot fixations in place of his ears. He wobbled as he tried to stand, and I impatiently rushed to his side. Stop it! You obviously can't move in your condition, so you might as well sit down and clear your head. What is going on? Who are you, and what are you doing here? He looked at me as if he was registering me for the first time since asking who I was. Everything about him screamed overwhelmed, and he simply gritted his teeth in frustration. Oh my god, I don't know what to do. Ask if he's hungry. Wait, the rations are for me! Fuck him! No, I am. I decided to find another angle to help him open up. I did not consider myself intimidating, but it was possible he had no desire to answer anything. Are you hungry? I softened my voice and returned to my spot by the fire. I grabbed a cloth and genially offered him the rye bread and cheese. He only arched an eyebrow in disgust. What is that? It's food. You chew it. I ripped off a piece of the dark bread and demonstrated, humming delightedly to show that it was edible. He scoffed and averted his eyes.
I don't care.
Wow, what an ass. I don't want it. It looks revolting. Bread looks revolting? Sorry my peasant food does not please my lord's tastes. His attitude was rubbing off on me. Calm down. If anything he's hiding, then he's scared. He did just wake up in a foreign place. Are you nobility? He felt silent, and only the occasional crackle of the fire and the hooting of owls interrupted the stillness. I leaned back and ruminated over my meal, careful to leave some food untouched in case he changed his mind. Ah, it was that apple tart too. I'll save it for later. I wrapped up the cloth, only vaguely aware that the stranger was examining my every movement. It nettled me slightly, but I decided not to comment. I did not want to do anything that would cause him to raise his guard even more. It was now dark, and I occasionally fed the fire, getting the feeling I was going to be spending the night. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally spoke up. Who are you again? Arlie, I'm from the town of Barry. And you? Kerr. He reluctantly uttered the name, gazing into the fire. He seemed much calmer now. And how did you get here? His lip curled, almost smirking knowingly. You probably wouldn't believe it if I told you. You have unusual eyes and a strange fashion accessory over your ears. I think I can find your story credible. He flexed his hand, scrutinizing his fingers carefully. I didn't come here willingly. Out of all the places, I don't see why he decided to drop me in this low-born simplistic. Kerr? He glared at me as if offended that I had addressed him directly. So, where are you from? I'm not particularly tied to any region. It's not obvious already I'm not one of you. He tapped his knee petulantly. I'm one of the dragons, an earth dragon. He stated it full of pride, with no ounce of humility. Dubiously, I inspected him from head to toe, taking note of the stone-like juts for ears and his remarkable eyes. He balked under my stare, but quickly regained his dignity. His eyebrows furrowed fiercely. So why would the nurse dragon be here? It's not because I wanted to. He blurted it out angrily, then touched his unique ears for comfort. He's such a... Fuck. Oh my god, I forgot the name. Tsundere. He's such a tsundere. I sighed, then tilted my head from side to side as I absorbed his explanation. Alright, I'll admit I'm not exactly accepting this as feasible, but I'm not dismissing it either. You can't transform back? If I could, do you think I would remain in this pathetic body, so weak? I instinctively patted my sword hilt to counter that remark, but I stopped when I saw him attempt to stand again. It was like watching a toddler take his or her first steps, but instead of cutely coaxing, I was fervently discouraging his efforts. We've already established that you're unfamiliar with your form. Besides, it's too dark to walk around aimlessly. I'll find a walking stick for you and we can return to Barry if you'd like. It would feel wrong if I abandoned you in this state.
I don't need your help.
Are you saying I can handle myself? I'm pointing it out. Realizing we were both escalating our voices, I looked away in a huff, not wanting to have our encounter turn sour so rapidly. An altar. Huh? I need to find an altar. You, heavenkind, worship us, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the dragonkind were here first, so it's only natural we pay our respects. I admit, I thought dragons were more divine and irreproachable. Kerr was definitely giving me a different impression. I barely knew anything about the dragonkind, though. They focused on their own affairs. You will take me there. It was a plain statement, not a suggestion, nor a plea. Why an altar? They're all heavenkind made. How would it help you? He parried my questioning exasperately. It doesn't matter. You know where one is?
Yeah.
There's one not far from here. There's a cave that leads to it. Relief washed over his face, and for once his scowl vanished. Good. We should go there this instant. He obstinately tried to stand up again, but I lunged forward and firmly set him back down. He gaped at me in disbelief, but my will was as stubborn as his. Morning. We will do this in the morning. Get some sleep and I'll find an ideal walking stick. I don't think you'll master bipedalism without some assistance, especially not in a day. And it'll be difficult if I have to physically support you the whole way there. So just take it easy tonight. I'll even keep watch while you sleep. Why? He just woke up. After my entreatment, he fell silent and gave a reluctant nod, closing his eyes warily. I sighed, gratefully feeling moderately triumphant over that battle of pig-headedness. As Kerr was grumbling, I leaned over and pulled a small blanket out of my bag. The temperature was still pleasant even at night, but it could cool rapidly, especially since it was the end of summer. After returning some items to my bag, I reshaped it so it was a passable pillow again and offered it to Kerr, who seemed puzzled by its purpose. Believe me, you'll need something comfortable or you'll have trouble sleeping. Worse, you'll wake up with a sore back and getting to the altar will be even more troublesome. You already slept on it once. I think you can figure out how to support your head with it again. I laughed sheepishly at my own stab at lightening the mood, but I could tell it wasn't working for Kerr. This granted, he lay down on his side and experimented with a few positions before resting his head in satisfaction. At first he refused to use the blanket, but as temperature dropped, he discreetly pulled it toward him when he thought I wouldn't notice. Probably to hide his expression, he rolled over so his back was to me and the campfire. I had the feeling the initial shock took a lot out of him, and I admittedly hadn't helped when he'd ruffled my feathers more than once. Now that he was sleeping, though, any irritation I still felt dispersed along with the summer heat. I would need to be mentally and physically prepared for tomorrow. Stay cool and collected as autumn. I got it, Robo. Super late for you. Have a good night. Thank you for stopping by, hang out. I poked the fire and stayed on my watch until exhaustion beguiled me into resting my eyes for just a few minutes. Huh? Cute? What is this cuteness? Hey! Oh, please. I've had less sleep than you and I'm already energized and ready to go. Pouting, I poked Kerr some more with the walking stick I'd fashioned for him. It hadn't been easy to find a sturdy stick in a birch forest, but I had located a long one that would suffice. I had spent the morning carving off any bark, and had even indented the top to make it easier to grip. Now it was my dragon prod. Poking the dragon. Oof. Hurrah, sick dragon!
Whoa.
I cut that out. Kerr hastily shot up, throwing off my blanket in a feeble attempt to hide the fact he had used it. I decided to counter his usual scowl with the perkiest, most cheerful grin I could muster.
Sorry about that.
Good morning! Oh, hiyo! My buoyancy was genuine. For some reason, it satisfied me to know that my vivaciousness irked him. I could use my sunny disposition to my advantage. It would be better than snapping at him, at any rate. Stop poking me with that.
You're welcome.
It's your walking stick. Here, you're welcome. I turned it sideways and offered it to him. He warily gazed at it, as if I was presenting a cobra instead, but carefully grasped it. Cautiously, he pressed the stick against the ground as he stood up. I remained close lest he topple over like yesterday. His fingers drummed against the carved handle and he looked at me quizzically. You spent time on this?
Right.
Well, I wanted to finish it off with a pretty flowing ribbon, but I had the feeling you wouldn't like it. Grumbling, Kerr took a step forward, leaning on the stick before hesitantly taking another. With each step he regained some confidence, and soon he was walking in a straight line, albeit with an uneven gait. He could not exactly break into a run or even a brisk stride, but it was a huge improvement from last night. I estimated we could reach the cave leading to the altar by mid-afternoon. I quickly packed and followed him, since I had the feeling the only thing on his mind was that altar. "It's this way." I pointed toward the gentle incline, and Kerr narrowed his eyes resentfully. Going downhill would probably be difficult for him. As we headed towards our destination, I kept my distance at first, but I gradually drew toward Kerr, one hand extended in anticipation of a stumble. Kerr balked and increased the distance between us, determined to progress on his own. Let him go by himself. Fuck him. However, his pace was excruciatingly slow, and he was unwilling to start any small talk. As the slope gradually steepened, his footing became more unsteady, and I worryingly grabbed his arm for support. "What?" He twirled around in surprise, and I actually did end up bracing him. Once he was stable again, I sighed. "Look, I know you don't like me touching you, but if your priority is to get to that altar as soon as possible, I think you can swallow your dignity and accept my help. Besides, no one else is around to see."
I don't need your help.
"You've done enough. I don't need any more help for now." He shifted his weight and started using the stick to warn me away. I frowned disapprovingly. "Hey, if you try to hit me with that thing, I'll confiscate it." Even I wouldn't do something like that. Gritting his teeth, he leaned heavily against one of the birch trees. "When I get back, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind." "Oh, my master." His curt answer stalled the torrent of questions piling up in my head. It would be poor of me to interrogate him when he was still obviously overwhelmed by the situation. Right now, the goal was more important.
Right.
"Then, let's get you to that cave." "You believe me? Everything I told you?" "Maybe you're just a very convincing actor, but I think even an actor would drop this charade after a while." Just as I was about to reach for him again, a low grumble pierced the forest. I glanced at Kerr in amused bafflement. He averted his eyes, but I could tell he was embarrassed. "You know, if you're hungry..."
Shut up.
"I'm not." Another complaint from his stomach. "I think you'll be able to walk faster if you have something to eat. What do dragons eat anyway?"
Annoying.
"Meddling Evankine." I rolled my eyes. "Well, you have a Heavenkind stomach now, and I doubt it'll agree with a diet like that. But it does make sense that you wouldn't want to try the bread or cheese. I doubt dragons thresh rye or run dairy farms." It was then that I remembered the apple tart. Even if Kerr found the pastry part detestable, the fruit would probably be familiar to him. "Hey, that's my apple tart!" I urged him to sit down. When he refused, I simply made myself comfortable on the ground first. "Here, this is the closest thing I have to something found in nature. I could forage, but that would take even longer." "What is that?" "It's a pastry. My dad owns a bakery. You probably wouldn't understand that. It's basically a treat, with apple filling. And I think some apricot jam." Thankfully, my dad preferred showing off the natural ingredients. As a result, the top of the tart had thin slices of appetizing fruit covered with a lustrous yellow glaze. Kerr sniffed it warily. It must have been agreeable enough, since he soon accepted the pastry. "You're welcome." As soon as he started nibbling on it, he must have realized how famished he really was, because he quickly devoured the entire tart. I watched as he coughed slightly and wiped the crumbs off his mouth, but his expression was unreadable. "So, how was it?" "Anything tastes fine when you're starving." "Or you just inhaled it so fast you didn't actually taste it." "Well, it should tide you over until we reach the altar." Kerr grabbed his stick and we resumed our trip. The extra sugar boost seemed to lift both the pace and his mood, although he stayed taciturn. So tsundere. As we continued through the forest, I stopped and groaned when I spotted some dark trees.
Oh no.
Ugh, those are evil bun trees. Completely forgot. We should probably go around them. Evil ban. He peered at the thick, gnarled trunks. What? Scared of the bark? It'll be quicker if we continue in a straight line. No, it's not about the trees, it's what lies in them. They make perfect nests for heavy turtles.
The hell?
The hell are those? Those giant bird things. Thought you would know them? I would if I understood your names. Why are you giving new names to everything, anyway? We dragons were here first, and we've already established. I raised my hand to silence him, not wanting to make any unnecessary noise. He scowled, but a shrill cry startled both of us. And what do you call that?
Whoa.
Usually food. Well, that'll be us now. First on one of the lower branches was a reptilian bird with scales running down its front. The rest of its body was covered in earth-toned feathers. Though probably no taller than 4 feet, its extremely wide wingspan and sharp talons made it a fearsome animal to encounter in the wild. Heavy turtles raised young way into the fall, so the mothers would be extraterritorial this time of year. The bird ruffled its plume, making itself seem larger than it was, and prepared to launch itself at us. I immediately stepped in front of Kerr, gripping my sword as I took a defensive stance. With Kerr's condition, an instant retreat wouldn't work. I'd have to guard him.
Whoa.
Who are you? You're not planning to fight it, are you? We have a choice. Look out! I shoved Kerr off balance. Thanks to my quick reflexes, we narrowly avoided a slash from the heavy turtle's talons. The wind whipped at my hair as debris flew up around us. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted forward, hoping to keep the heavy turtle's attention away from Kerr. Oh, no. As it dove toward me, I slashed upward. It veered away, dodging my counterattack. What I wanted was a screenshot. Kerr, I'll keep it busy while you get away.
Bring it.
Are you stupid? I'm not leaving you behind. Kerr? I need you to take me to that altar. Maybe if you shouted the directions at me, I could get there alone. I'm kinda busy here. Can't get my bearings in the middle of a battle. That's when you shouldn't lose your bearings. My aggravation was the incentive I needed to keep the heavy turtle at bay. However, my training had never covered aerial attacks, and the bird's scaly front was like armor. I thought she was saying at the start there that training was basically done.
The hell?
Are you holding back? Well, it's just protecting its young. It's trying to kill you. You think I haven't noticed? Oh, for the wings. Clip them. It won't hurt it, but it'll stop it from flying. Just clip the tips. I widened my stance as I prepared for another attack. At the last second, I leapt to the side, slicing at an angle. My sword beautifully sheared the heavy turtle's thick primary feathers. The monster swerved into the ground, its shoulder and head bearing the brunt of the crash. It let out a cry, and I felt a split second of guilt that vanished with a yelp as the bird tried to tear me down with its talons. Luckily, the heavy turtle was designed for swooping down at prey rather than running on the ground, so it could only wobble awkwardly. As it screeched and futilely spread its wings, I retreated, grateful that it was even slower than Kerr. I wove through the trees until it finally gave up chasing me. Then, sighing in relief, I looked back and returned to Kerr, who was also at a safe distance. Looks like it gave up. Well, what about its young? It'll be fine. The feathers will grow back, and it can still hop back to its nest. Its babies won't need to eat as constantly at this stage anyway.
Thanks.
Sure know a lot about them. Thanks for the suggestion. He snorted indignantly. I already told you they're food. Of course I'd know about them. Soon the forest was quiet once again, with only the sounds of our footsteps and the tap of Kerr's walking stick breaking the silence. Surprisingly, he did not protest when I suggested a safer route, nor when I walked nearly shoulder to shoulder with him. I had the feeling that starting a regular conversation would push my luck, so I kept my mouth shut and instead hoped for no more setbacks. This is it.
Yeah.
It's not a very deep cave. You simply take a turn and the altar is right there.
The hell?
That's it? No complex mazes? No shiny sacred magic lake with a guardian or anything? Hey, we did what we could. This is a modest altar. I took a deep breath and smiled reminiscently. I haven't been here in years. I think I came before to make the occasional offering around harvest season. I gave Kerr a cheerful look, but he continued forward, ignoring my recollections. I shrugged and followed, quickly catching up to him. Kerr awkwardly knelt down before the altar, discarding the walking stick once he was comfortable. His eyes closed with a softened scowl, almost as if he was meditating. Suddenly his mineral-like ears perked, and he stared directly at the statue. There was no change in atmosphere, but I could tell Kerr was angry. His hand tightly gripped his knee. I know we're connected. I demand that you remove this stupid curse. He fell silent, and I looked around in amusement. He was talking to someone? But I could not hear the other half of the conversation for some reason that made me even more attentive as I tried to piece everything together. You can't be serious. So I said a few things, but, yes, I've met one. That's how I found the altar in the first place. He whirled toward me and blinked in confusion, as if studying me for the first time. I stiffened, wondering why he was staring at me so intensely. Once he finally turned away, I relaxed, although I could not help but feel anxious about the discussion. What about me? You're about to be food. Weak, pathetic, gives strange names to animals, doesn't seem to know much about Ishtera or how the world works. Is he referring to Evankind in general or just me? Well, I guess their food is off decent or something. What? No. No, you're not sending me on a pointless inspirational quest. I'm not a child. I can't even walk in this form, so your plan is... At that moment, a blinding light flashed from where Kerr was standing, and I flinched in shock. Whoa, Kerr? By the time I had knelt down and worryingly grabbed his shoulder, the flash had already disappeared. In one smooth movement, Kerr removed my hand and stood up without the walking stick. His eyes still seemed focused beyond me, and he slowly nodded to himself. Did your powers return or something? He extended his palm and lurched toward the ground, slamming it against the hard stone. The entire cave shook. The tremor visibly and mentally shook me as well, and my heart pounded loudly. I felt so paralyzed that I couldn't even scream. Once I found my balance, I looked bewilderedly at Kerr, who smugly flexed his unarmed fingers. I stared curiously at his cocksure expression. So... He barely glanced in my direction. It's not exactly what I wanted, however, a portion of my original powers and strength are back, along with my balance. I can actually be comfortable in this form now. He gave a dismissive kick to the walking stick, then promptly walked away from the altar. I mustered a small smile.
Right.
Well, that's promising at least. What will you do next? Do what he ordered me to do and become normal again.
I don't need your help.
I can handle this on my own. Huh? So you don't need to follow me. I had to anyway. There was only one way out of that cave. But as soon as we were in the open air, Kerr took off running with a grace and speed I'm sure no real Evankind could ever replicate. I blinked once, and sure enough, I was alone. I scratched the back of my head, still absorbing what just happened. You're welcome? Burying my head in my hands, I shook out my hair in frustration. Was I expecting something from this? Well, a thank you would have been nice. I tapped my sword hilt for reassurance. It's what a knight does. They help the weak and demonstrate their generosity when it's needed. Well, Kerr's not weak anymore. He can definitely take care of himself now. I guess my duty is done.
Right.
Mission complete. Just some experience as a reward and a discarded walking stick. Deciding not to linger any longer, I started walking back toward Barry. My parents would certainly be worried by now. Chapter 2. I trekked back through the forest, careful to avoid any more wild animals. When I reached the spot where I'd previously set up camp, I decided to take a quick break to eat. I unwrapped my bread and cheese, poking half-heartedly at their grainy texture as I stared at the remains of the campfire. As I was about to take a bite, I had an odd feeling of discomfort and glanced sideways. Lols. Am I really imagining things? I sighed. Kerr, I know you're there. You don't have to hide. It was only silence at first, but I heard a slight rustle and turned my head again. Seriously, you just moved to another location. I hope you weren't going to wait until I was asleep to steal my stuff.
Shut up.
I wasn't planning to do anything like that. Kerr reluctantly emerged from behind one of the bigger trees. His expression looked conflicted, and I could tell he did not want to be with me again. Welcome back? Did you miss me? No, but then I realized I wouldn't be able to find the next altar without you. Well, you're out of luck. I don't know the whereabouts of any other dragon caves, nor am I carrying more apple tarts if you're hungry. There really is no reason to stick with me. You'll need to get another guide or find someone else that can help. But I don't want to go through the trouble of finding anyone else, at least until I get my bearings. I have no clue where to go from here. A small idea formed in my head. Wait, perhaps I could accompany Kerr to Oliver. If I explain the situation to Mom, maybe she'll consider writing me the night recommendation letter.
Right.
Then, if you'd like, I'll accompany you to Barry. From there, we can travel to Oliver. It's a huge city. You could probably find directions to other altars there. Does that sound acceptable? He grumbled in agreement and sat down on the fallen log I was using, but near the edge to leave plenty of space between us.
Look,
My master also asked for me to interact with Heavenkind more. And I've already been with you long enough. Nice to know I'm tolerable to be around. Your master doesn't seem that bad. He has an interest in working with Heavenkind. I guess he didn't like it when one of his pupils didn't share his point of view. I grinned wryly. At least he was kind enough to curse you with some clothes. I didn't think dragons normally wore clothes. Was that a spell, or are those the genuine articles? Kerr tugged on his shirt as if suddenly aware of it. I think it's a spell. It won't wear off or anything, will it? He scoffed. I assure you the spell won't wear off for my clothes. It's just that I don't want to glance back during, I don't know, the heat of battle and catch you stark naked.
Shut up.
That'll never happen. Jeez, why are you interested in seeing me shirtless? If you want, I can take these off, right?
Stay focused.
Please no, I trust the magical sustainability of those clothes, so please keep them on. Besides, you'll stay warmer that way. Is that why Heavenkind wear them? Something like that. I pulled off some of the bread and popped it into my mouth. Kerr watched briefly with interest before haughtily averting his eyes. Let me guess, you're hungry as well. I don't know what Heavenkind consumed, but I don't think I can eat what I normally would. As he pursed his lips, I handed him the rest of the bread. He arched his eyebrow in surprise at the offering. It's fine, I had a small breakfast. I'll be back in Barry soon. Without bothering to inspect it like he did with the apple tart, Kerr crammed the bread into his mouth. I stifled a laugh since I had a feeling dragons had no concept of chewing. Propping an elbow on my knee, I watched him with amusement. I was also feeling a little unimpressed with how dismissive he was towards me. Tease him. I lowered my voice to imitate him. Oh, Arlie, I'm so eternally grateful. You're the best Heavenkind has to offer. And I'm so glad you helped me, fed me, and led me to where I needed to go. Where would I be without your immeasurable kindness? Thank you. Kerr coughed violently as he tried to respond and failed, and I continued. I feigned a sweet giggle and fluttered my fingers toward him.
You're welcome.
Oh, Kerr, it was nothing. You're welcome. After pounding his chest, then swallowing loudly, Kerr tried to speak up.
Shut up.
Before he could start, I stuffed the last portion of cheese into his mouth. I kept my hand there, and we exchanged a meaningful look. His quizzical stare softened, and I took a step back. It's nothing. You finish eating. I'm going to take a quick walk. I stalked off before he could answer. I approached the riverside, crouched down, and splashed my face with water, rubbing my forehead and cheeks. This quite reminds me of a place I know. Then I inhaled deeply and ruffled my hair, careful not to snag on my braid. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. A knight was supposed to be courteous, generous, kind, just, honorable, and help those in need. And here I was, struggling to maintain a calm demeanor. There was something about Kerr's attitude that always got me worked up. Well, that and him showing some gratitude would be nice. Or was it wrong for me to seek it in the first place? I still have a long way to go before I'm more like Mom. How does she do it? I grabbed a flat, polished rock and stood up, throwing and catching it a few times while I pondered what to do next. First things first, Kerr will return to Barry with me. We'll need to stock up on supplies and figure out where the next altar is. I tossed up the rock and caught it again. Does he expect me to travel with him the whole time? Or until Oliver? I wonder if I'm mentally prepared for this. Gripping the stone, I threw it into the water at an angle. It skipped a few times before disappearing completely. I bit my lip, not pleased with my 3-hop achievement. I could probably get 7 rebounds on a good day. I should get back. I wonder if Kerr already got impatient and left. Just as I turned to leave, I heard a loud splash and immediately whirled around, unsheathing my sword. I angled the blade upward and widened my stance. Bursting from the water was a large serpent-like dragon with a translucent ridge down its back. It flapped its wing-like fins, head extending beyond the shore. I grit my teeth, searching for a weak point, but kept my distance. Tightening my grasp on my sword, I looked the dragon directly in the eye. It recoiled when it saw my weapon, withdrawing its head but made no further movements. It didn't appear to be hostile. I slowly sheathed my sword but kept a firm grip on its hilt. A mist formed around the dragon and I stepped back unsure of whether to retreat or wait. It seemed to vanish as the mist overtook it and I squinted. Moments later, I spotted a rather hazy figure.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I blinked as a little Evan-kind person appeared before me. He had similar ears as the water dragon, so I could safely assume they were one and the same. He also had brilliant teal-colored hair, which I had never seen before. He fidgeted with his hands and gave me an apologetic look.
Are you okay?
I didn't mean to frighten you. His wide eyes disarmed me completely, and I could only wave my hands frantically to reassure him. No, it's fine. I didn't mean to threaten you with my sword. It's just sort of instinctive. It's understandable. You didn't know what my intentions were, and I probably looked intimidating. We both stopped and exchanged an awkward smile. Yes, the puppy eyes, exactly. At first, it was a giggle, but I soon started laughing, then rubbed the back of my head sheepishly. He joined in with his own gentle chuckle, and any tension we felt from our rather intense encounter dissolved instantly. So, what are you here for? I'm looking for someone. He should be around here, and he would have unique ears like mine, and... You mean Kerr? Are you Kerr's master? His eyes widened. Me? Oh, no, I'm actually a pupil for someone else, but I know his master well. He raised his arms and glanced at the sleeves, tugging on them before inspecting the rest of his clothes. Hello, Melty, how are you? It was then I could see his long hair tumble over his shoulders, complete with a flowing purple ribbon. You look fine. Oh, you even transformed with a braid already in place, that's cute. He grinned cheerfully, seemingly pleased with himself.
Thank you.
Heaven, girl, there you are. I have a name. Kerr approached us petulantly and gave the new boy a supercilious glare. I don't know what that means. The boy bowed slightly and glanced shyly away.
The hell?
I heard a large splash and came to check. Who are you? I'm Ilmari. We've met a few times. Kerr gazed at him so intently that Ilmari squirmed uneasily. Nope, I don't know you. How did you find me anyway, Ilmara? Ilmari, I overheard our masters talking and Master Bedros mentioned you, Kerr groaned loudly. Let me guess, they sent you. Sure, They sent me to supervise your assignment.
I'll go.
So, please, take me with you. Kerr and I exchanged glances. Oh, look, Ellie. Ilmari. Whatever.
I don't need your help.
This isn't exactly something I want to do, nor do I want more company to slow me down, unless you can fly. Ilmari's face fell. And can easily take me to the next altar, I'm not interested. Go back and tell our masters I can handle this myself. But... I sighed and stepped in, raising a hand to touch Kerr's shoulder. You don't need to. Kerr flinched from the physical contact, and I mentally kicked myself for forgetting already. Right, no touchy. Anyway, I think Ilmari will prove useful. He did say the masters wanted this, right? They placed their trust in him for a reason. Ilmari shifted his eyes and glanced at the ground. Right.
I promise.
I won't be a burden. And if I am, well, I can go back. Kerr grumbled and merely walked downstream, waving dismissively.
I don't care.
Do what you want. Just promise you won't lecture me or do any of that nonsense. I already get it enough. Promise. Ilmari's smile was so bright that I couldn't help but grin as well. I turned to him and offered a hand, and he tilted his head quizzically. Looks like we'll be traveling companions, at least for a while. This is an offer to shake hands. It's a greeting between heavenkind. Ilmari extended his hand, and I gave it a firm shake. Pleased to meet you. I'm Orally. Pleased to meet you too.
Thank you.
And thank you for convincing Kerr. Thank you. Pardon?
Thanks.
You have no idea how long I've been waiting to hear those words. I have a feeling you and I will get along swimmingly. Swimmingly? He glanced back at the Ripper, then chuckled. Is this heavenkind humor? Something like that, but it usually elicits more groans than laughter. Come on, we should probably get going before Kerr decides to ditch us both. I don't have any more food to lure him back. About food and heavenkind needs. I researched a bit, but I'm not completely familiar. Don't worry, my dad makes food for a living, so you'll learn a lot about it. He nodded happily. With that, we quickened our pace before Kerr could yell at us to hurry. I wonder how they'll react to entering a heavenkind town. What about when they have to poop? Let me vanish a second. Alright, just needed to blow my nose. We arrived late afternoon. Chapter 3, Barry. If you didn't read. Barry was a small farming community, nestled by the riverbank, perfectly situated between larger cities. It had at least 3 dozen houses, many with their own farmland and sprawling orchards beyond the river. Of course, it also had an inn for travelers, which was becoming more popular thanks to the improved roads.
Wow.
Ilmari seemed thrilled, gasping over every little thing while his eyes excitedly darted from one house to the next. Kerr simply rolled his eyes and remained withdrawn as we walked over to my family's house. I admit I was concerned. Their ears weren't exactly natural, and Ilmari's hair color was striking even from a distance. There were a few people who passed and gave curious glances, but they relaxed when they saw that I was accompanying the boys. You knew everyone in Barry, especially if you lived here for most of your life. When we reached my house, I motioned over to Ilmari and Kerr. Can you two wait here for a bit? I need to talk to my parents first. I can't just invite strangers in. Is it some sort of heavenkind formality? Yeah, formality. Something like that. That's why it's important you two don't wander off.
Of course.
Right? I mean it. I opened the door and closed it behind me, stepping into the cozy room. Mom? Dad? That's a very modern fireplace, for what I expected. And the couch, too, seems very modern. Thought this was more medieval, like. It's like a modern house. Like IKEA furniture. Yeah, the more I look at it, the more jarring it seems. I hope they didn't leave to search for me. That would be partially my fault. Laura! Mom! I was embraced in a tight hug. My mother worryingly checked my face before stepping back. Damn. Hello, Mommy. Where were you? Your dad got all anxious and I kept telling him you would be alright. But when night came... I'm fine. The reason why my scouting took so long was because I bumped into 2 travelers. She pursed her lips and tapped her chin. They're not amnesiac? Nope. Any mystical-looking pendants on them? They have some simple jewelry, but no pendants. Dark and mysterious pasts? I'm pretty sure not. One is a spoiled brat, and the other seems like he would be the youngest of a dozen siblings. She sighed in relief. Good. I've had too many troublesome experiences with people like that. Let them into a village, and the next instant it's on fire. That's my girl.
Right.
Always thinking of everything. Where's Dad? I'm starving. She laughed at my carefree comment. He should be back soon. She leaned to one side, looking past me. You can let your friends in if you like. I turned to see Ilmari gingerly tapping the glass and putting his hand all over it in bafflement. He looked like a performing mime.
Wow.
What is this brilliant substance? You can see beyond it, but it's a barrier. Not from around here. You could say that. Once we sat down at the table, Kerr was content, leaning against the wall, being sullen. I quickly explained the situation. I left out the punishment since I had a feeling Kerr would get embarrassed. Here in the first place, they'll be observing our customs and looking at some of the altars we built. That sounds wonderful. I know there's been more interaction between both races lately, but I'm out of the loop now. Mom used to be the captain of the guard for the city of Oliver, but had long since retired. She kept busy performing various protection services for travelers and merchants, patrolling Barry, and even teaching sword fighting. We were hoping to leave first thing in the morning, and walk the whole way. I glanced at Kerr and Ilmari. I could always swim, but it's been harder to navigate in this river recently. A lot of heaven-kind activity. None of us fly. I guess we could always hire a coachman? Actually, there's a small group of merchants heading for Oliver. They won't leave until tomorrow afternoon. I had initially offered my services, but if you think you can handle it... You mean it? I can arrange it right now. Up for the challenge? That'll be a first real job outside of Barry without me. Of course, I'll protect him to the best of my ability. She laughed at my enthusiasm and excused herself, letting the males know that they were welcome to stay overnight. I grinned and popped a fist into the air.
I'm going to be a real knight!
I feel like this is my first step into real knighthood. A knighthood? Well, probably more like a mercenary. You get hired to protect people and make sure they arrive at their destination safely. That's a good thing. That way we can get to Oliver and earn a little money. However, if I could ask my mom something later, then I'd really be a knight. I could have left for Oliver at any time, but I needed something important first. I was probably grinning like an idiot, but I didn't care. When I heard the door open, I knew it was my dad, and I immediately jumped up. Mom was likely on her late patrols again, and probably wouldn't be back for a while. You two are probably hungry. Is there anything you'd like to eat?
Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm open to anything. I never tried heaven-kind food before. We'll try our best to make you something you'll like, Ilmari. Kerr? He was pondering at first, and then reluctantly looked up. Yes?
Look,
Those, the one that had the apple slices on it.
Right.
Oh, apple tarts. Of course, pastries are pretty much my dad's specialty. He'll make some for you. Smallest of smiles appeared on Kerr's face, but it quickly vanished. At least there was something heaven-kind related that he enjoyed. Our meal was pleasant, and I was surprised that my dad even got Kerr to say more than a few lines. My dad always had a way of winning people over through his cooking. Does Dad not get a character portrait? Ilmari found our eating traditions extremely complicated, what with all the dishes and utensils used, but kept getting drawn to the windows again. If I ever let him loose in a stained glass church, I and a stained glass church. I snorted behind my cup thinking about it. When Mom returned, I pulled her away from the group for a private chat. Is it all arranged? So I'll be able to guard the carriage tomorrow? Yes. Then, since I'm going to Oliver anyway, can you write a letter recommending me for knighthood? In Oliver, there was a special guild for knights. People trained by revered knights could be endorsed to serve under the Sun and Moon Council. If I was going to Oliver now, this could be the perfect opportunity to join them. With Mom's name, they would not refuse me. If anything, they'd usher me in with open arms. My mom sighed and rubbed her forehead, already tired of the persistent conversation. Honestly, Aura, I still don't think you're ready and mature enough to. I'm ready. Not only that, I could help help the dragonkind better. Please? She chuckled weakly, but I could tell she was still firm in her decision. Look, I'll think about it. For now, you can assist Kerr and Ilmari just fine without a rank. I gave her a petulant look, but gave in. Alright, I'm glad you're at least considering it. Thanks, Mom. I returned to the others who were finishing up their meal. As I gathered the dishes, Dad glanced towards the stairs. Will you be spending the night here? You've already done so much for us. We also prefer more spacious places, so we'll be fine outside. You sure? Do you see us leaving in these things? Not really. We still have some time before it gets dark. I can show you around the town if you'd like. Ilmari brightened immediately while Kerr sighed.
Oh no! I don't care.
Pass. Weren't you ordered to learn more about Evankind?
Annoying.
You could just summarize it for me. I'm more about finding the altars. Which are locations you visit after you learn?
Let's do this.
Let sleeping dragons lie, Ilmari. We can have fun without Crabapple sulking along. I grabbed Ilmari's hand and led him outside, deciding to show off the orchards the town specialized in. As we walked down the road, we passed a farmhouse where 4 children were running around playing tag. When one spotted us, he waved, and the other 3 eagerly scampered toward us. Aura, come play! Another time, Chase. The youngest sibling crept forward and gazed up at Ilmari curiously. Your ears are funny. Is that a bad thing? Not at all. They're really cute, don't you think, Heather? She giggled. They look like butterflies. They really don't. The children prodded at Ilmari and ran around until their mother called them back. Although I did not expect that, Ilmari seemed to have enjoyed himself. How sweet! They're all siblings, so they play together a lot. He blinked blankly before gasping.
Wow.
Siblings? They're all related? Yeah, it's not uncommon to have large families here, although I'm an only child myself. What about you? I guessed you were like the youngest of a dozen. He gave a sheepish chuckle. No, I'm an only child too. It's extremely rare for dragonkind to have siblings. I don't think I've met one that had more than 2. He tilted his head, then glanced at me hesitantly as if pondering something.
I have a question.
Then, for mating season, is it... Alarm bells went off in my head, and I made a giant cross with my arms to dissuade him. Oh, no, I'm banning this subject. As if I could accurately answer those types of questions anyway. If you don't ask, I won't ask how it works between dragons.
I'm sorry.
Right, I agree. He appeared so awkward that I couldn't help but laugh, and soon we were chuckling over our quick diversion. Just ask my mom.
Right.
Alright, let's keep going. I can show you around one of the farms. Okay. One of the barns was open. It actually belonged to an old friend of my family. I casually strolled in, pointing to various equipment. Ilmari gestured to a device in the corner.
I have a question.
What does that do? Oh, it's a churn. You use it to, well, churn milk or cream into butter.
What?
Cream? Butter? Here, I'll demonstrate. Pretending, of course. I approached the cylindrical wooden tub and touched the stave. Basically, you plunge this up and down and it'll shake the liquid and eventually turn it into a solid. Milk, cream, and butter are all types of food. As I explained, the house owner entered, carrying 2 buckets filled to the brim with something. Hi, Bryony. I saw you showing your friend around, and I thought you'd like to demonstrate a real thing. With a wry smile, she set the buckets down. I stared at them expressionlessly. I wasn't planning on staying.
Wow.
I want to see it. Between Ilmari's persistence and my inability to decline a request from my mom's friend, I gave in. Right, I'll show you, Ilmari. Then afterwards, you can show him how to milk cows. Oh.
Let's do this.
Fine, I'll do it all. I wasn't sure how, but I got roped into chores while showing Ilmari around. His questions were endless, and he seemed to enjoy every minute of it. Whenever I offered for him to take over, he'd shake his head and say that he'd probably mess it up. I had the feeling he was just saying that. At least he loved the apple orchard when I was finally able to guide him there. It was late evening when we returned, and I was rolling my aching shoulder. Even my calluses of calluses. I haven't done farm stuff in years. I'm surprised I even remember that. I had been more focused on my sword training and patrolling duties as of late. But did you have fun, Ilmari? He grinned brightly, like a child who had just left the sweet shop with a pocket full of cookies.
That is so amazing.
I did. I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if I'd call it interesting, but I guess I've been here so long that it's all routine to me. If I was a knight, I could do more things. Nothing, merely thinking out loud. You sure have a lot of questions regarding
I'm
Evankind.
sorry.
Sorry about that. I naturally love learning about new things. In return, if you have any questions about Dragonkind, I'd be happy to answer. He stopped and shyly fidgeted with his hands, and I could tell he was anticipating an inquiry. Confess you want to touch his ears? No! That's weird. That's how he knows your language. You speak our tongue pretty fluently. Did you learn it? Yes. From what I know, Kerr was pretty much forced to while I learned on my own. What about your own? What is it like? We communicate audibly, of course, but we also use telepathy. What's that exactly? It's sort of like projecting one's thoughts to another person. Of course you need to wish for the person to pick up those thoughts. Dragonkind don't normally live in close proximity to another, so it's useful to us. That sounds pretty neat. What are you thinking now, if you could project it to me?
Thank you.
About how much fun I had. Thank you so much for showing me around Barry. It was no problem anyway. I muffled a yawn. I should get to bed now. We have a busy day ahead of us.
Thank you.
Night, Arlie. Thanks so much for everything. It's fine. I had fun too. Even if I got dragged halfway across Barry to do hot chores. Once I opened the door to my house, I spotted my mom sitting at the table, holding a quill over some blank parchment. I covered my mouth to muffle a squeal. You're doing it? You're writing the letter? I bounced on my heels and launched into a tackle as I hugged my mom from behind. I peered over her shoulders.
I'm going to be a real knight!
You're actually going to do it! You're actually going to do it! Gonna be a knight! I halted and let go, suddenly confused. Wait, what made you change your mind? My mom laughed and leaned back, flashing me a meaningful smile. Well, I did some thinking, and I thought maybe you were right. You are ready. That's what I've been telling you! My smile was so wide it hurt. Thanks, Mom. I love you, and good night. I look forward to reading it in the morning. I dashed upstairs, determined to fall asleep. However, I couldn't help but toss and turn as I replayed the day's events. Not only Ilmari's questions, but that I was going to become a knight once I arrived in Oliver. The task is to protect the carriage. The task to protect the carriage could be viewed as my first duty as a knight. My first real mission. I certainly couldn't sleep now. Yeah, it's all very modern, isn't it? I hugged my pillow and rolled around, unable to stop my giddiness.
I'm going to be a real knight!
I'm going to be a professional knight. Do professional knights normally act like this? I don't care, I'm so happy! To achieve the title of knight, one usually had to be trained at a famous school or academy, and graduate from there. Since I did not live in a big city that had such establishments, I trained solely under my mom instead, and their status and achievements were well known. Which was why I needed that letter badly. If she recommended me, other captains or noblemen would probably hire me and I would serve in the Sun and Moon Council. And I'd be able to see more of Ishtera, outside of Barry, as a real knight. Unable to remain still, I hopped out of bed and paced restlessly. I approached the window, not sure what I was expecting. How are those two doing anyway? It's not like Kirk could transform back and sleep how he always does. I wonder if I can find them and check on them quickly. Snatching the blanket off the bed, I wrapped it around my shoulders like an oversized shawl. Then I strapped on my belt and scabbard and walked out the door. I need to vanish again. I think I'm starting to get a little bit of a cold. Autumn's journey should not make me have allergies, right? Because it's autumn. Not if it was spring journey. That's a no. Outside, it was comfortably cool, and I found the sound of crickets and frogs soothing as I walked beside the river. I guess I was subconsciously anticipating to find Ilmari sleeping on the bank or underwater. Huh? On a whim, I entered the apple orchard. I spotted Ilmari sitting against one of the tree trunks. His ears instantly perked up, although I had the feeling he'd heard me approaching earlier. Can't sleep? Something like that. I sat down next to him. He poked at the grass in front of him dejectedly. Kerr wouldn't bond with me. Bond? Dragons bond by nestling together. I thought, since we were going to be travel companions, despite our differences. He hated the idea, though. Kerr doesn't seem to like being touched in general, I can imagine. He stared at me hopefully.
Well...
He stopped and tucked his knees up, his arms resting around his legs. What about you? Is it different between Evankind? I scrambled to formulate an answer. Well, cuddling is something between family and loved ones. Hugs are more acceptable between friends. What did I know? My mind was full of knighthood dreams and sword skills. In no way was I the most authoritative representative regarding Heavenkind relationships. Hug? Put your arms around someone and hold them close. I mimed the action using my blanket. He nodded in understanding. Then I guess you wouldn't, Sure. Cleaning Ilmari would be like rejecting a basket full of kittens. Kittens that all looked up at you pleadingly. For a few minutes. I can't stay out here all night. I do need to return to my bed. I shuffled over to him until we were shoulder to shoulder and adjusted the blanket so it draped over both of us. It's not that cold out? Not really. It feels nice. So, forgot to ask this earlier, but why are you interested in learning about Evankind? Because your culture is fascinating. Huh?
That is so amazing.
Everything that Evankind do is amazing. You can create things I've never seen before. And look, you can do this. He wiggled his thumbs and fingers. They're so dexterous. I laughed and mimicked him momentarily. It's true, our kinds are interacting more. I assume you've heard of it?
Of course.
Yes, I'd like to be a sort of mediator. I think you call it a diplomat? I've already tried to help Evankind before, but it didn't work out. It's harder than it looks. How so? Well, this one incident, they were willingly entering this monster's mouth. And there was nothing I could do about it.
What?
Wait, a monster? Yes, the strange one that smells of wood and floats on the water. I've never seen it before, and the Heavenkind simply enter it. Boat? I nudged it a few times, but people seemed upset. Ilmari, those are boats. We use those to travel up and down the river.
What?
So it wasn't a monster? He slumped into the blanket, mortified. I patted him on the shoulder, trying to reassure him. It's okay. Misunderstandings happen. You had good intentions. And now you'll be able to study Heavenkind at more personal level. I'll do my best to clarify anything you're uncertain of. In return, tell me more about Dragonkind. It seems fair. I'll try not to ask any more boring questions, though. I mean, more interested in me didn't seem so fun for you. I'm never churning butter again. Feeling that our conversation had reached a satisfying note, I clutched the blanket and stood up. You'll be fine by yourself?
Of course.
Yes, I'll see you in the morning. Playfully, I draped the blanket back over him. Even a dragon might need an extra layer of warmth in a Heavenkind body. Take care, then. As I sauntered back to my house, easily guided by the bright moon, I spotted Kerr, restlessly bracing by the door. Puzzled, I approached him. Need something? Ilmari is past the river if you're looking for him.
I don't care.
Nothing to do with him. But thanks for the heads up, since I can avoid him easier. I would have given him a light punch to the shoulder, but I remembered he hated contact. Mean. Play nice. He'll be traveling with you after all. I hope you don't mind being stuck with me until we reach Oliver. I think we'll have fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Annoying.
I've noticed. I heard you squealing even from afar. My ears couldn't shut it out if I tried. I'm sorry. It's something I've always wanted to do, and now it's the perfect opportunity. All the experience from my freelance jobs will finally pay off, and I'll be on the road to Knightwood. Let's make tomorrow's task a successful one. We're guarding that wagon, so the merchant's cargo will arrive safely in Oliver. Think you can handle it? He wrinkled his nose. An escort mission. Not the most glamorous duty, but it's honorable. Anyway, I'm going to bed. I promise I'll stop squealing. As I was about to open the door, Kerr stepped forward.
Look.
Wait, He scratched the back of his neck sheepishly. Surprised by his rather modest display, I looked at him intently. Yes? About earlier, when you crammed that food into my mouth.
Oh, sorry about that.
I was joking, so don't worry about it. I'm sorry if it seemed mean-spirited. It wasn't my intention. No, you were right. Huh? Kerr seemed both shocked and offended by my reaction.
Thanks.
What I mean to say is, you did help me, a little. A little? I gave you a walking stick, fed you, fought a giant bird, took you to the altar, got ditched, only for you to come crawling back, and I accepted you a second time. Now I'm starting to wonder why I did. I feigned contemplating, and he glanced away anxiously, as if dreading that I would refuse to help him now. I stuck out my tongue to appease him. Don't worry about it. Maybe I was right about me having immeasurable kindness. I am grateful, but you exaggerated a bit. You're definitely not the best having kindness to offer. Piqued, I gave him a swift kick to the back of the leg. Ow!
Right.
You're right, I'm not. But I'll definitely be the best knight. Even if I lost some kindness points with that action, I'll re-earn them tomorrow. Night, Kerr! Night. I closed the door behind me, resisting the urge to squeal about tomorrow. Chapter 4. To Oliver. Why does the city have the name of a person? Map, rations, yep, I think that's everything. Satisfied with my packing, I hurried down the stairs just as Mom was reading the letter of recommendation she'd finished. Ah, Aura, all prepared?
Right.
I sure am. How's the letter? I just show it to the Argent Valor Guild, right? The Argent Valor Guild was one of the most prestigious orders in Ishtera. It consisted of knights who served the Sun and Moon Council, but also did non-military work. Oliver was the central hub for all their activity. Mom had been part of the guild all her life, so her name was well known among the younger generation of knights. Right. As long as a former knight recommends you, it shouldn't be too hard to earn the rank. Hopefully they didn't change any of their requirements. Excited, I snatched up the letter and quickly skimmed the beginning. I, Lady Endrine Bayard, former captain of the guard, Turcopolier of the 3rd Cavalry Line. Mom, your titles and credentials are longer than the actual recommendation. But I guess it helps since I've been trained under you. I returned the letter so she could officially seal it, then promptly tucked it into my bag, making sure it wouldn't get crinkled. The Merchant Ventures carriage should be ready. They already know the escort arrangements, and your father is making sure the boys don't get into too much trouble. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Let's do this.
Anyway, let's get going. You're gonna see your daughter off on a grand adventure after all. I eagerly rushed out the door, not wanting to make the others wait any longer. Wait, Aura! I halted and pivoted, noting the cautious tone in her voice. Yes? She sighed and folded her arms. Well, originally I was going to cancel this whole arrangement. Why? The merchant was rather vague about the contents he was carrying. I usually like to confirm everything with my own eyes, since it's not just for their safety, but also mine and that of any other escorts. I highly doubt the package will contain monsters or anything sinister. Are you sure you're not overreacting? I mean, this is your daughter getting involved. She paused and mulled over my suggestion carefully. True. It may just be my overprotectiveness. This is the first time my daughter will go off on her own after all. She nodded mostly to herself and I accepted her agreement.
Right.
Thanks for organizing everything. Now, come on! As expected, Dad, Kerr, and Ilmari were at the edge of Barry with the carriage stationary on the main road. Kerr was pacing while Ilmari was chatting happily with my dad. The coachman waved to acknowledge us, and I approached the open window of the vehicle. A middle-aged man sat among the silks and pillows, which suggested I was protecting a wealthy merchant. Mr. Ormond, was it? I'm Arlie, and my companions and I will be escorting you to Oliver. I assure you we're trained and you'll get there unarmed. The others are, well, versed in magic. I was pretty confident about that assumption, at least. He nodded, and I was unsure if he was just nervous or reserved.
Thank you. Shall we set off straight away?
Of course, it's no problem. I glanced down and saw an ornate box. It was long and narrow, and I tried to fathom what was so important that they needed to hire protection. Maybe it was a sword? I wanted to ask about the contents, but decided against it. My priority was getting to Oliver, and the quicker the better. I made a mental apology to my mother, rationalizing she was just worrying over nothing.
Let's do this.
Alright, it seems everything is ready. We're moving out. I energetically motioned to the others, then exchanged hugs with my parents. I promise I won't be gone for too long. I'll definitely be back in time for the harvest. As we departed, my mom cupped her hands around her mouth. And remember, be sure to check every barrel, crate, and chest in town. The residents don't mind if you find something useful. Mom, I'm pretty sure that's stealing.
Speaking of which, teach your companions the concept of pay. We don't want them accidentally pilfering apples or the like.
Oh gosh, that's right. I didn't even think about that. Ilmari glanced at me curiously as we continued walking. Pay? Just don't take stuff. Especially if it seems like it belongs to other people. But your mom just said. Don't mind what she just said. And Kerr, you're too far ahead. Not a professional start. Thanks, Kerr. The merchant probably heard that. They didn't understand pay either. Thank you, family. We hadn't even left the village, and already my mind was swarming with too many worrisome thoughts about the journey. No, just focus on the mission. It'll run smoothly, and everything will be fine once we reach Oliver. I reached into the bag and touched the ladder for comfort, and to make sure it was still there. Feeling my confidence returning, I straightened my back and boldly gazed beyond the road. Finally, my dreams will come to fruition. The journey so far had got off without a hitch. We were passing through a rockier area with a forest pressing against us on both sides of the road. There was still much greenery, but some trees were already showing the early signs of autumn, with yellowed leaves. Hilmadori and I were ahead of the two-horse carriage, while Kerr was content with shadowing the vehicle. Since history and politics were never my forte, my brain strained to answer Ilmari's endless questions, but I would immediately perk up if he had anything to do with knights, if they had. Unfortunately, this wasn't one of those times.
I have a question.
So, this council, each town has a representative and they come together in Oliver to help govern? Pretty much. They do things like build bridges, schools, or improve the agriculture. We have a similar system between the wise dragons. They use their knowledge of the past to help shape our future. Hey, Mori. Have you been picking up activity for the past hour or so? Mari, and yes, I have, but I wasn't sure if it should be brought up at all. I paused and touched my hilt, but let my hand drop, lest it would reveal I suspected something. Activity? Are we being followed? The two exchanged glances, with Ilmari appealing more apologetic than Kerr.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I should have said something. I wish I had your hearing abilities, but still, I feel so inattentive. I surveyed the forest, noting any jutting cliff sides if we were to be ambushed. How many? I don't know, 5 or 6. You think these followers have a malicious agenda? I didn't think Evankind would be the hostile type. Well, I wish I could say everything was peaceful, but disputes and fights still arise. There's always exceptions. Dragonkind are generally harmonious, but clashes still occur. Especially when dominant young males are expanding their territories and they happen to overlap. It can get quite intense and scary. Not speaking from experience or anything. Of course not. I never assumed.
Annoying.
I'm weak. Wait. He stared hard at Ilmari and then his eyes widened in recognition. We have met. Her let out a boisterous laugh, clearly amused by the whole situation. Sorry about that territorial instinct. That lake had a nice beach. I stepped between them before any more tension could arise.
Stay focused.
Can we save the border debate for another time? Right now, we have to focus on the people pursuing us. I wish you told me sooner, but at least now we can anticipate any attacks. Let's keep it from the coachman and our client. We'll feign ignorance in the meantime and hope nothing bad will come out of this. I'd rather avoid a battle if possible. Realizing we'd been standing around, we quickly resumed our march. As I adjusted the bag strap over my shoulder, I tried to glance discreetly into the woods. Kerr, Ilmari, what is your fighting experience? He could probably take them out in dragon form. This body. Ilmari shook his head resolutely.
I'd rather not.
I'm not doing anything like that. Moreover, I'm an Arius. I wouldn't do well on land. I know some magic, so I can be a good support. I nodded, then looked at Kerr expectantly.
Bring it.
I'll be fine fighting directly.
Right.
At least you can walk without any problems. And I have my sword, along with some focusing techniques. At least we were balanced enough, and my focusing techniques would help me find an optimal condition. Ilmari's ears perked up, and he shifted nervously while Kerr grit his teeth. They're moving swiftly. They're probably planning to launch an assault once we advance a little farther. I think they're positioning themselves by that outcrop. When we get there... He trailed off and I made a fist, biting my lip anxiously.
Let's do this.
Alright. They think they have the element of surprise. Prepare yourselves. Sounds like there's more than 5 now. I could feel my stomach lurch as we neared the destination, and I already had my hand on my sword hilt. Calm down. The knight wouldn't be afraid. I gulped, and then chided myself mentally, taking those thoughts from my head. I reminded myself that I was not a coward. You need to remind yourself of that? I mentally concentrated on a spell that helped refresh and restore some vigor to my body. It would increase my strength temporarily. Once the outcrop loomed over us, there was a moment of uneasy stillness before a swift wind swept through the trees. They should warn the coach driver. Yeah! What? A muscle-bound man landed directly on top of the carriage, shaking it violently and causing the horses to rear up. The coachman tried to settle them down as the attacker leapt off the vehicle, unsheathing his sword. I dashed over and directed his attention to me before he could rip off the door. Our weapons clashed and I clenched my teeth as I successfully pushed him away from the carriage. I could hear the scuffing of feet as more men emerged from the forest, and my heart plummeted. We were outnumbered, nearly 3 to 1. Not only that, all of the attackers seemed too organized to be a mere bandit group. My opponent's sword fighting was refined, and their outfits too proper. Not to mention that they had followed us for some time, according to Kerr and Ilmari. Take that! I dodged one of the slashes and knocked him out with the blunt side of my sword. I did not want to resort to taking a life if I can help it. I'm going to sleep. Have a good night, Caravan. Thank you for hanging out. I saw Kerr lunge forward and perform an awkward curled slap to one of the guy's faces, like he was in a cat fight. It looked painful, but it was not an effective strategy. Claws. He's used to battling with claws. I tried to approach Kerr, but I was stopped by another foe. I parried just in time, but I could feel the axe whistling past my arm. Kerr! Punch them! Make a fist! What? The X-Men swung again. I ducked and then charged forward, bringing up my left hand. Like that! My fist contracted my opponent's cheek, causing him to stumble back. Pain shot through my arm, and it took all my effort not to drop my sword and cradle my poor hand. Like that!
Bring it.
Right. Kerr delivered a hearty punch. This time, it sent his opponent flying. He glanced at his fist in bafflement, and a smirk appeared on his lips. Not bad, I could get used to this. As Kerr jumped into the fray, I could hear Ilmari apologizing loudly. A burst of water streamed forth from his hands, toppling someone who tried to run up to him. That's nice.
Take this!
4 down, 4 to go! A few men that had gotten back up were now second-guessing themselves, while the more stubborn ones tried a round 2. As I was engaged in another sword fight, I stepped back and felt my shoulders bump into someone. I glanced up in the heat of battle and spotted Kerr, who looked down at me. The heat of battle, that reminded me. I assure you, the spell won't wear off for my clothes. Just that I don't want to glance back during, I don't know, the heat of battle and catch you stark naked. Before we could stop ourselves, we burst out laughing, causing the challengers surrounding us to look perplexed, possibly even alarmed and scared. Or scared. Hey, Throw, how goes it?
Please stop!
Why are you two laughing? Help me! Ilmari retreated to the other side of the carriage as he struggled to conjure a spell. Kerr, still chuckling, knocked another man out and darted around the carriage, while I was locked with the second-to-last foe standing. I riposted, but he blocked my sword. I retaliated with a swift kick to the stomach, and he stumbled back. His eyes darted over his fallen comrades as he slowly backed away. I pointed my sword at him, and he hastily disappeared into the forest, leaving his partners behind. Perfect timing, since I could feel my focus spell wear off. Coward! Deep in the horizon sauce, so I won't be staying. I want to stop by and say hello. Cheers, bud. Cheers yourself. I won't be online too long today. Just wanted to do a special stream. I felt like taking a quick break, and this was a good opportunity for that. And thank you for the bits. I hope you enjoy your horizon. And it treats you right. Have a good night, man. I woke up late. So, in a bit, I also will have to go eat something. Because I'm starting to feel it. A high-pitched scream came from the carriage, and I turned to see that the door was open. One of the armed men was escaping with a box. No!
Bring it.
Not while I'm around. He slammed the ground with his fist, causing the whole place to shake. I knelt down, covering my head, as my sword clattered harmlessly into the soil. My knees felt like they'd liquefied, and I had to use one hand to support myself. I couldn't move, and each shock only reinforced my terror.
Please stop!
Kerr, cease this at once! Did Ilmari notice I was scared? The man tripped from the jolts, and the box flew out of his grip. It hit the rocky terrain with a crash, causing the latch to open. I forced myself to stand up, but was unnerved from the tremors. Every step felt wobbly. Kerr focused on the almost thief, who also disappeared into the woods. By the time I got to the fallen object, Ilmari was already scooping the items back into their coffer. I saw a few feathers sticking out. Perplexed by the wares, I reached out for the box, but Ilmari slammed it shut, his face pale white. Ilmari? Phew, closed it. It would have been unfortunate if it got damaged. It was intact?
Of course.
Yes, nothing appears broken. He gave me a strange smile. That's weird that he would hide it. Why? Kerr chased off the remaining conscious opponents, and I carefully stepped around the supine ones. A few groans were emitted, but they probably wouldn't be up for a while. Ilmari handed the box to me as if he was eager to get rid of it. Thanks! I'll return this to Mr. Ormond. I hastily approached the vehicle and placed the box on the seat. The frightened merchant glanced up warily. We chased them off, whoever they were. He clutched the coffer, cradling it on his lap. Did you see what was inside? No, but I'm sure the contents are safe. I closed the door and promptly asked the coachman to resume driving. I sheathed my sword and rubbed my throbbing left hand, regretting my rash display before. Then again, it wasn't like I had the time to explain a punch, and Kerr had caught on quickly. As we walked, I could feel the adrenaline rush leave me and fatigue creep up. Didn't think I'd do something like that so soon. I looked up to gauge the boys' expressions to see how they were faring. Kerr was positively beaming. Every strut screamed of his triumph. Ilmari had become oddly quiet, and he appeared lost in thought. Check on Ilmari. Ilmari was still ruminating, and I paused until he caught up. Are you okay? You haven't looked so well after that fight. Is it not something you're used to? He gave a weak smile, but averted his eyes. It's not that, He fidgeted and rubbed his upper arm as he contemplated something. You can talk to me, if you want to. It's just... Orally, do you know what the merchant is carrying with him? No, I don't. I admit I should have asked, but I was too focused on getting to Oliver. So you don't know? No? The dark cloud of ambivalence that seemed to cling to him vanished instantly, and he sighed in relief.
Of course.
I see. Ilmari, what is it? Don't say it's nothing. When people say it's nothing, it usually means it's something. I looked at him beseechingly, and he squirmed under my stare. I could tell he was wrestling with his answer. You're right, there is something nagging at me, but I don't want to be jumping to conclusions at this point.
I'm sorry.
Can I think about it and tell you later? I don't want to hide things, but I don't want to openly speculate unless I'm certain about something. Is that acceptable? I pondered for a moment.
Yeah.
It is. Thanks for not being completely evasive. But I do want to be told eventually. Should I demand to see what's inside the box? He shook his head. Let me take a quick break. Not an actual break, but you know what I mean. I feel like I'm getting sick. Let's just focus on the task at hand. You're right. You were ordered to supervise Kerr. We shouldn't sidetrack. Then let's get this carriage safely to Oliver and get paid. He beamed proudly. Pay. Money that is given for goods received, services provided, or work. You sure picked this up quickly, and for a while I was worried.
I promise.
I won't be trouble. I want to be useful. Thanks, Ilmari. I leaned in and lowered my voice to a whisper. There's no one else following us now, right? We're safe. I'll be sure to tell you from now on if I hear something out of the ordinary. Phew, then onward it is. In a few days we would arrive in Oliver. I adjusted my bag and thought about the letter, eager to reach the guild. Chapter 5, I want to be a knight. Halt! State your business. Cargo delivery for merchant ventures. I half expected some questioning, but the name seemed to carry enough weight that the guard simply nodded and ordered the gate to be raised. While that was happening, I approached the client, who gave me a small pouch of coins. As per our agreement. I grinned and accepted the payment, resisting the urge to check. Was it rude if you counted the money in front of your client? The heaviness seemed appropriate as my fingers gripped the bag.
Thanks.
Thank you, and I'm glad you arrived safely. Take care.
Wow.
As the carriage rolled away, I noticed that Kerr and Ilmari were standing around gawking at the thick city walls. Well, shall we get going? They broke out of their trance. Ilmari's eyes shone radiantly, while Kerr tried to hide his stupefaction. Please try to stay with me, no wandering off. I tucked the pouch into my belt and they quietly followed, soaking in the sights as we entered the city. At first we strolled easily through the wide streets, which had many carts and carriages passing by. Eventually the crowds thickened, forcing us to slow down. I could see the two dragons getting a few curious stares, but everyone seemed to be too busy with their own schedules to pay real attention. No, those were no more than passing glances. If it was more unusual, I'm sure people would have stopped and commented. It was then I spotted one person with ears similar to Kerr's, so it was true that there were more dragonkind here. At the plaza, there was a large platform with carnival feats on display. A fire eater launched the flame, and the crowd awed and applauded accordingly.
The hell?
Wait, I didn't know Evankind could breathe fire. What is this trickery? How does this work? Can anyone learn it? It's an illusion. It only appears like that because he extinguishes it at the right time. Come on, this way. As we zigzagged, Ilmari abruptly stopped and I nearly bumped into him. Ilmari?
Wow.
He had found a glass-blowing shop with an open front, and one of the artists was molding a transparent blue bubble through a blow tube. Suspended all around the store were glass-blown ornaments. Below, rainbow vases sparkled in the sunlight. Ilmari gasped in wonderment.
That is so amazing.
That's phenomenal. How are they able to create something so beautiful? There's so many colors. He took a step forward, but I quickly pulled it on his braid and then on Kerr's hair because he was dawdling toward a pastry shop.
Stay focused.
We'll never get to Argent Valair Guild at this rate. Come on. But I want to see... They have apple tarts. We can check the glass shop later, and Kerr, you'll get cavities if you keep eating those. Enough dilly-dallying. We have somewhere to go and I want to get there now. He doesn't know what cavities are, though. I released them both after they promised that they wouldn't run off and made sure they stayed close. Fortunately, the guild was located in a quieter part of town between the church and public gardens. Kerr looked quizzically up at the headquarters, which proudly displayed an embossed sign.
The hell?
This doesn't look like an altar.
Sorry.
Sorry, this is just a small side trip, promise. I clapped my hands together and gave a little bow, closing one eye. Something I really need to do first. I'd love to have you come in with me, but they probably don't allow just anyone. So can you two please not wander off? I'll treat you all to the glass shop, to all of the glass shops and apple tarts you want after.
I promise.
Promise? Fine. I sighed, but was relieved that at least one of them was obedient. Besides, even if there are dragonkind here, you might attract too much attention. And I won't be there to protect you if something bad happens. Don't worry about us, we'll be over there. He pointed to the garden, which consisted of shady trees and benches scattered around pretty flower beds.
Thanks.
Thank you. I fished out the letter and eagerly entered the building. Alright. So... I think I'm gonna stop now. Save. Oh, cute. Did I get any? Oh, I did. Okay, cool. So, I hope you guys enjoyed a look at Autumn's journey. Certainly did have a nice start. I'll be playing more of it for sure. And if it got you curious, check it out. Again, I got the code from publisher, so that's pretty cool, and I want to thank that too. And yeah, it was my day off, so I hope you enjoyed this shorter stream. And I certainly was missing doing some VN streams because I've been on too much of an action binge lately. Yeah, I'll check back with you guys tomorrow for our continuation of Horizon 2 Forbidden West. So have a good night, and thank you for hanging out. Goodbye.